In the middle of the Alaskan wilderness sits a lonely outpost in the frozen wasteland. The wind howls through the skeletal trees, and the station is buried under a blanket of snow. It is known as Station Delta 7. Built by the U.S. military, it is equipped with powerful radio receivers to listen in on Soviet transmissions. But for over a decade, nothing has been detected, just static. That is until one fateful night. Thomas Barrow was the man stationed there, alone in the desolate outpost. He had accepted the assignment because it came with a hefty sum of overtime pay. Little did he know, he would soon regret his decision. One night, as he was reading a book, he heard it. At first, it was just a whisper, barely audible above the static. It seemed to be coming from the speakers in front of him. Curiosity overcame him, and he turned up the volume. The signal was faint but discernible. There was a woman's voice speaking in a language he didn't understand. He switched to the transmit frequency and sent a message back, but there was no reply. Night after night, the whisper continued. It seemed to be getting closer, louder, more insistent. Thomas tried to ignore it, but sleep became impossible. And so he decided to investigate. He searched the building, moving boxes and equipment, finding nothing out of place. And that's when he saw it. Written on the wall in pencil was a list of rules. The signal must not be translated. The signal must not be played backward. The signal must not be spoken aloud. The door must not be opened if it knocks. What? Why? Who wrote this? It didn't make sense. Then he remembered the voice. Was it trying to tell him something? He took the rules one by one. First, he couldn't find anything in the manual about the signal or its origin. He tried translating it into English, but the computer kept giving him errors. Next, he recorded the signal and played it backwards, but it sounded like gibberish. Still, he felt a sense of unease, as if something sinister was lurking just beyond his perception. He tried ignoring it, tried pretending it wasn't there, but the signal seemed to be getting louder, more persistent, almost like it was growing. Thomas wanted to leave, but the storm outside was fierce. Visibility was zero, and the roads were impassable. So he stayed. The wind screamed against the windows, and the lights flickered ominously. The hours ticked by, and the signal grew louder still. It was a relentless whisper, a constant reminder of his isolation. Then one night, the door knocked. Thomas froze. His heart pounded in his chest. Should he open it? The signal had warned him not to. But what if someone was out there trying to help? What if it was just the wind? He hesitated, torn between the safety of ignorance and the pull of the unknown. The knocking grew louder, more insistent, and finally he succumbed. With trembling hands, he reached for the doorknob and stepped outside. The world was white and silent. The snow fell in thick flakes, muffling all sound. He looked around for the source of the knocking, but there was nothing, no one. Had he imagined it? Relief washed over him, followed by a surge of anger. How could he have been so foolish? But then he saw it. Footprints in the snow leading away from the station. Someone or something had been out there, and it had left without him. With a mix of fear and determination, he followed the tracks. The signal told him not to, but something compelled him to do it anyway. The tracks led to a clearing where a single tree stood, its branches bare and reaching like skeletal fingers toward the sky. And there, at the base of the tree, was a figure. Tall and slender, it seemed to be made of the shadows cast by the tree. Thomas called out, his voice echoing in the stillness. But the figure did not respond. Was it real or a figment of his imagination? As he approached, the figure turned, revealing a face pale and gone, with eyes that burned like embers. Thomas gasped. The face was his, yet it was not. It was a twisted mockery of himself, a grotesque reflection of his own features. Fear surged through him, paralyzing him in place. The doppelganger beckoned with a finger, and Thomas felt an irresistible urge to follow. He found himself drawn back to the station. The signal seemed to be growing stronger, more insistent than ever before. Was the doppelganger trying to lead him back? Why? Was this part of the signal's design? These questions echoed in his mind as he stumbled back to the safety of his lonely outpost. The confrontation with his doppelganger shook him to his core. Was he losing his mind? Was the signal driving him insane? Or was there something more sinister at play? He tried to rationalize what he had seen, but the more he tried, the deeper the rabbit hole went. The line between reality and delusion blurred. Days turned into nights, and the signal became his only companion. Sleep offered no escape, for even in dreams, he heard the whisper. Driven by desperation, he began searching the station more thoroughly. He found old logs kept by previous operators, each one more cryptic and disturbing than the last. Many spoke of hearing a voice that sounded like their own. Some mentioned seeing strange lights and shadows. Others simply went missing. The entries became more frantic, the writing more erratic, as if the operators were losing their grip on sanity. It was as if every 3 months, the signal would drive them over the edge. But what was the signal? What did it want? The answer, he felt, lay hidden somewhere in the station, buried beneath layers of bureaucracy and red tape. As the weeks passed, the signal grew louder. He felt its presence in his bones, its whispers echoing in his blood. It was a constant, inescapable hum that reverberated through his very being. Reality seemed to warp and twist around him. Doors appeared where walls had been, and hallways stretched into infinite tunnels of darkness. He was trapped in a labyrinth of his own mind, a prison of sound and shadow. In his madness, he found a pattern. Every time he exited the station through a different door, he would come back to the same place, the signal room. It was as if the building itself was a loop, a closed circuit of sound and solitude. All paths led back to the source, the signal. Was this the truth? Was he truly trapped in a world of his own making, imprisoned by a force beyond his understanding? The signal, once a distant whisper, now roared in his ears, drowning out all other sounds. It was a cacophony of noise, a deafening chorus that echoed in his mind long after the volume was turned down. He struggled to maintain his grip on reality, but the signal was relentless. It seeped into his thoughts, worming its way into his brain. The line between sanity and insanity became a blur. He realized the signal had claimed him. It used him as its vessel, amplifying his thoughts, emotions, memories. It knew him better than he knew himself, anticipating his every move, exploiting his every fear. He tried to resist, to break free from its grasp, but it was futile. The signal had become part of him. He was its next carrier. And then it stopped. Silence descended, heavy and oppressive, broken only by the howling wind outside. The station, once filled with a cacophony of static and whispers, was now eerily quiet. Was it over? Had the signal abandoned him? Or was it something worse? 3 months later, a new operator arrived at the station. He was young, eager, and unaware of the horrors that awaited him. As he settled in, he checked the equipment, ran diagnostics, and prepared for his lonely vigil. Then the signal came through. Faint at first, then growing louder. It was a woman's voice speaking in a language he didn't understand. He adjusted the dials, trying to identify the source, and that's when he heard it. His voice. It was his voice speaking in the same language. The signal had found its new vessel,